Welcome. Are you sitting comfortably? Are you focused and not thinking about whatever's bothering you these days? I'm not here to test you. Please relax. Let your thoughts come and go and listen as they fade away in the distance. For better or for worse, this is where your life has brought you. Looking at a screen, listening to me. Imagine, for a moment, that you've just had a child. It's healthy, but unfortunately also completely blind. For their whole life, they will live in the dark and not see a thing. Their perception of reality is something that you might never be able to comprehend. How would you describe the world to them? What can't be touched or heard, smelled or tasted? How would you describe sunlight? By what it does? Or how it feels on their skin? I think I'd play them this piece of music. First composed by Tchaikovsky in 1878, these rays of light have traveled through decade after decade, finally reaching your ears this very moment. You have also traveled far to get here today, but you're only passing through and should probably get going. While you're here, I'd like to tell you a story. It all happened to me when I was young,
Walking in a forest, much like you are. Those were days
filled with boundaries and rules. No running in the hallways, don't do this or that or the other. With my world full of fierce discipline, I walked the forest
to breathe. One day, deep in the woods, I found a funny-looking tree, crooked, old,
and wrinkly. With a little work, a few bits of bark became huge ships. Calm creeks turned to ferocious
oceans. I can still recall the
people, I imagine, dragged downstream with a sense of guilt. As I gazed back upon the old tree, I noticed something
peculiar.
It was crying.
Every crumple,
like
eyes closed tightly. Clear drops streaming silently down its wrinkly skin.
So I did as children do. Tasted it.
Not because it looked tasty, but to figure out what it was.
The first drop made my tongue tingle. The second made it prickle. And the very moment
the third
landed on my tongue. A profound sensation spread through my chest. Undefinable, like thirst, both vague and specific.
One thing was clear. Something
was changing within me. I remember breathing in and out, feeling
the fire.
slight prickle in my fingertips. I studied them closely, discovering circular ridges on the foreign landscape of my skin.
The prickling soon
Slipped my attention. It would be another week until it returned.
a wave of gentle needles moving over my skin. A limb falling asleep, perhaps.
I did not start worrying until it returned the third time.
First making its way up my neck, before engulfing my skull completely from behind.
I could even feel the tiny needles covering my eyeballs.
But did it not stop there? I held my breath
As the small thorns crawled around my lips, was spreading into my lungs and stomach.
My awareness spread with it, and I remember the
Strangest sensation of my mushy dinner in there,
As if I held its remains in the palm of my hand. Rushing into my lungs. The tingling spread with it through an endless web of veins. Soon reaching my beating heart. For a moment, I stood in awe of the activity within my
Body. I felt my heart beating faster
And
and my skin sweating. Your body is your only vessel in this world. And when it misbehaves, the claustrophobia is total. Seek help.
I thought. And at that very moment, the tingling
These shot from my brain down through my spine. I felt them scatter through my upper leg, where muscles contracted to lift my knee. My body weight shifted forward, and a shockwave
spread from the foot sole
as it landed softly on the ground. The process repeated itself in greater detail for every step. I was overwhelmed, but my body kept moving. I did not at all feel like the boss giving directions. It all happened automatically, and I was simply along for the ride. Like you.
The doctor's office was cold and white. Crossing the floor felt like a polar expedition. My parents, distant features
Of the landscape. I wanted to explain, but was unable.
My lips and tongue engaged in an intricate choreography, myself in the audience observing the words performed.
My lips muttered, "I'm sure it will pass," while my thoughts were crying for help. conversation kept going, but I stopped paying attention. Instead, I was following the hands of a clock mounted on the doctor's wall. They were both
Speeding up and slowing down. I was slipping further and further away, a levitating camera in a video game, merging with the code it was running on.
Again, with the binary, with the electronic circuits and so on. I closed my eyes and let my sensations lead me.
First, I spent some time with my bones.
Among their many functions, I got lost in their continuous breathing.
An uninterrupted flow of calcium absorbed and released. Even my skeleton was alive,
living in and of itself. I could feel my mind clinging to the known, to the clattering
thoughts, the buzzing of memories and fears of the future. But for each breath, tension
was released, and my shoulders sunk
comfortably. It has certainly felt like I was in there.
Somewhere behind my face. But I was nowhere to be found. And the more I looked,
The more hazy I became.
when my eyelids eventually opened, they felt as slow
As a sunrise.
Photons converted to neural signals shooting along the optic nerve, each carrying a piece of information into the darkness.
The brain categorized motion, color, edges, distance. I sat
For a moment in the dusk, watching the sunrise.
when the world eventually lit up. I was no longer
Wondering why matter lights up from the inside. My experience had
changed from the fire to the light. It is.
but it would get much stranger still. As the moon stretched, I started daydreaming. Or so I thought.
It began with a shimmering field creeping slowly in from the periphery of my vision.
The hands of the clock, still moving, but among them vague shapes.
slowly but surely.
I saw trees flowing past me, and among them, myself, sitting right there in the doctor's office with a vacant expression. While walking around myself, I was surprised to still
See the clock straight ahead.
Myself from the side.
The clock on the wall. The two images were not
overlapping. They just coexisted.
Like imagining a familiar place with your eyes closed.
And you see both nothing and something at the same time. I turned to look towards myself, but saw only the face
of the doctor, lingering somewhere
between confusion, concern,
and annoyance. However, when I studied his face closer,
I was struck by terror.
the image of myself had turned to look straight into my own
eyes.
I felt my own head reach out towards myself.
The weight of my hands landing softly
on my own shoulder.
Eyes distant, looking at the doctor, looking at myself.
rules and boundaries disappearing.
The fire was spreading. A delicate wave of nostalgia washing over me.
Intimate recollections of past
sorrows, relationships, education, and even medical experience.
And at last, I was no longer alone. Not in the sense that the doctor was there in the room, but rather that we were together in the darkness of my mind. A vast number of sensations were still flowing, but now with two observers to share the burden.
Out of sight, a hand picked me up. And as I kept breathing, the fire kept spreading.
Soon, I saw my parents sitting in their chairs,
Telling my story. I felt contradicting opinions and ideas coexist, but not in conflict.
different notes in harmonious chords,
Shaping a balanced, indivisible whole. More clouds spread into my vision.
and more sensations through my body. The music
was evolving.
I looked at my hand.
five fingers
against the surface felt no different than 5 bodies or minds.
branches becoming aware that they were connected to the same trunk all
all
along.
along. Their experience, my own.
all of them present in my mind.
The prickling kept spreading.
Each needle on my skin, another presence in my mind.
More and more observers sharing the burden. A vast number of sensations flowing. My world, like a musical sunlight, just passing through.
Every individual going about their business. Strangers on the street unaware that
They were all each other, their surroundings, and me. I knew and felt them all as I knew
felt myself. And I could no longer
feel contempt, or that anyone was somehow less deserving. There was no longer me and you, no us versus them. It was all just
me.
as I kept breathing in and out.
Each new breath pushed me along an ubiquitous landscape that was simply too beautiful to ignore.
What lay past each tree and beyond every hill was
another idea I knew to be true. Mountains,
transient shadows of matter flowing through time. Slowly from one point of view, but for the mountain itself,
oh boy, it's in a hurry, like everyone else.
Both the whirlpool and the stream, an expression of energy
flowing through empty space.
All experiences merging to one.
There I was.
All of us, you, me, I. The light that shines through the film.
All else is smoke and mirrors. This one also ends.
Not
because the story has an ending, but because it keeps moving,
leaving us behind.
My body kept living like yours will, with surfaces
Preserve its illusion of separateness. The screen, our very own eyes. I couldn't tell if I ascended or dissolved. I'm soaring through space,
but unable to move.
nevertheless. And as I turn in orbit, the boundary between light and dark keeps moving.
A cascading wave of thoughts arriving at dawn, just to slip away at dusk.
Suspended in nothing. An energy field
fumbling in the dark,
trying to describe myself. I want to be safe,
well fed, not too warm, not too cold,
to be acknowledged by my closest.
So even though you are another part of me looking back,
you will always be a stranger. of resources.
For my exploitation, the branches cut, our hemispheres separated once again.
Rocks skipping on the surface, never sinking in.
The inconsistent dash of beauty between the noise, picked up by a stranger with good intentions.
And with it,
Sentenced to die. I don't care who you are or how you found me.
But we are both reaching in. A few lonely rays,
venturing through space in just the right direction.
Absorbed in our views, stored as sweet sugars, and exhaled as crisp and clean oxygen.
And while the light warms our skin, or while we wait for the next sunrise, we breathe in
And out.
all that matters
Is that you are here right now.
And for a moment, we are together.
You and me as one. Like we always are.